This is awkward. That's what fans were correctly chanting the last time The Rock and Cody Rhodes were in the ring together. That was at the Raw after WrestleMania. But it would have worked just as well on Friday's SmackDown. There's a lot to unpack just with that one segment, so these are my assorted thoughts on the February 21st, 2025 WWE Smackdown. Welcome to Silo Voice Wrestling on YouTube and the Silo Voice Wrestling podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. From Silo Voice Studios in Montreal, I'm Jason C. McLean. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, and ring that bell for notifications for all my wrestling hot takes, cold takes, simmering takes, WWE Premium Live Event prediction and review videos, wrestling opinion pieces, and assorted thoughts on Raw and SmackDown. Now, I'm recording this Sunday, the 23rd of February. It's around 6:30 p.m. Eastern. Now, as of Thursday night and Friday morning, we all knew The Rock was showing up on SmackDown. We had some theories, but I don't think that could have prepared us for what we saw. Well, first of all, I thought, and I think most of us thought, The Rock was going to kick off the show. He didn't. We heard he was going to talk to Cody Rhodes later. He actually, Nick Aldis pulled Cody aside and said, you've been taken out of the six-man tag by the final boss. We finally got The Rock just before the 10 o'clock hour. And the first part was kind of predictable. He came out as sort of the babyface Rock again. The man of the people, I guess the people's champion, like playing to the crowd, because he announced that WrestleMania next year, 2026, was going to be coming to New Orleans. And of course, they were in New Orleans, so major crowd pop there, crowd pleasing moment. He started getting into the heel character, the final boss, a little bit after that, calling them basically talking about syphilis in the room and stuff like that. But then, of course, he called out Cody Rhodes, and Cody came out, and it became one of the oddest promos I've seen in a while. It was almost downright creepy at times. The Rock started off by talking about how him and Cody had become friends. Their mothers were now friends. They knew each other's families. And then he said, you're a great champion, Cody, but you could be even better. You could be my champion. At this point, I'm getting really confused. Like, does he mean his champion? And then eventually it leads to him telling Cody that Cody thinks he's going for his championship belt, but The Rock says, no, I don't want your title. I want you to be my champion. I want your soul. Like, whoa, okay. That was weird. That was creepy. He was also kind of like rubbing up against Cody. It was kind of like, it was very odd. It's the final boss, but it was like sort of like a creepier version of the final boss. I want your soul. Who wants people's souls? Like the devil, right? If you want to go with that. I was really confused watching this, but of course, after thinking about it, I started piecing together what he actually meant. At least what I think he actually meant is he wants Cody to be his corporate champion. He wants Cody essentially to turn heel. Now, that's really interesting because you know what? I could see Cody turning heel. I could also see Cody refusing The Rock. And I think it kind of comes down to who Cody's going to be facing at WrestleMania, who's going to win the Elimination Chamber. Because if Cody goes heel, becomes a corporate champion, then I think the perfect person to win the Elimination Chamber is CM Punk, the anti-corporate champion. Also, if Cody decides to turn down The Rock, I could see CM Punk turning heel and becoming a corporate stooge. And so that would work too. But then I think it really almost would play into John Cena winning the Elimination Chamber, because Cena, on one hand, he's the guy who never turned heel, despite half the audience really hating him, but he was always that. Maybe in his final run, he's actually going to turn heel again and be The Rock's champion, although that there's some weird coding there because of his history with The Rock. Or maybe Cody will turn heel and Cena will be the ultimate babyface and maybe even beat Cody at Mania. And then Cody eventually redeems himself, becomes a babyface again, and gets the championship back. I don't know. I don't think The Rock is going to be in a match at Mania, but I think he's going to play a part. Maybe he's actually going to be in someone's corners. So I'm actually, as disturbing as this segment was to watch, as confusing as it was to watch, like, get to the point, Dwayne. What are you doing here? And as interesting as it was to see The Rock start off a promo as a babyface and turn heel at the same time, I'm I think this is actually a really interesting wrench in the WrestleMania storyline. Even though if The Rock is not in the match, he's not taking a match away from anyone, but he might be taking a babyface away from the audience. That's really interesting. Also, he said he's going to see Cody at the Elimination Chamber in Toronto. Now, first of all, The Rock is a hell of an addition to a card. Him and Cody, like, wow. But also, if you want to go look historically, not the most recent time last year, but the time before that where The Rock turned heel, when he became Hollywood Rock, he sort of introduced that character again in Toronto, talking about how the year before he was at Toronto in Skydome, he brought up the fact that the crowd booed him and made Hulk Hogan a babyface. And that's what played into his decision. He basically blamed Toronto for his heel turn. So it might be really interesting to see how a heel Rock is perceived at the Rogers Center. I was really confused. This was a long segment and it was a confusing segment, but at the end, it just left me very intrigued with where we're going to go. And honestly, even though some of it was a little bit cheap, I'll slap the syphilis off your face, but the way The Rock switched to the final boss mid promo was really well done. The man has skills, but I think everybody knew that. And I'm definitely interested to see how he's perceived in Toronto. A little sidebar I made a little short, thinking that maybe his only heel thing was he was going to show up in New Orleans and say that WrestleMania is going to be in Indianapolis or Milwaukee or someplace else, and they had to earn it. But obviously that wasn't the case. The heel came when he talked to Cody. And speaking of great heel work, there was another Kevin Owens cell phone video, this time showing how he was outside of Sami Zayn's house, spying on Sami Zayn and his family, while cutting a promo as to how Sami's hurting both his family, Kevin Owens' family, and Sami's own family because of what he's forcing Kevin to do to him. But now, WWE wrestling in general has done these kind of outside someone's house segments before. But there's always been something artificial about it. Like, okay, you're creeping outside someone's house, but why is there a camera crew with you? And doesn't the other person notice the camera crew? They got around that perfectly. Now I understand why they're shooting so many cell phone videos from both of them. And it was leading up to this because Kevin Owens doesn't have a camera crew with him. He's still creeping. He's got his own phone there. And also I like the fact that I saw this was released on social media while SmackDown was on the air. So that's kind of interesting. You're giving people a preview of the show while the show is going on. So the way they're doing it, they got around that problem of why is there a camera crew with you? Because there isn't. So that's actually really well done, and it makes sense why they're doing so many cell phone social media videos with in this particular feud, but also Kevin Owens in general. He's a very kind of online kind of character in addition to being an on-screen character. But as far as this, wow, yeah, he's going to that next level. This is bringing so much more heat to that match in Toronto. This feud is levels above any other feud these two have had before. I'm really excited to see how this goes down, and I think it might even continue after Elimination Chamber to WrestleMania. They could keep that going. I think this feud has enough juice in it to do that, because Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, even if it's a few years from now, they're going to team up again. They're going to fight again, but I think this might be their main fighting each other run. Now, the real main event of this show, of course, was the Rock segment with Cody Rhodes, but the actual main event, I enjoyed it too, even though it was pared down a little bit. Damian Priest and Braun Strowman versus Jacob Fatu and Solo Sikoa. As expected, this was a hard-hitting match. Everyone looked very strong. But of course, the main purpose of this was Jacob accidentally kicking Solo Sikoa. The culmination of the tension that was rising between them throughout the night. I think they're testing the waters. I think we might be going for Solo Sikoa versus Jacob Fatu at WrestleMania. I wouldn't put it past them. Fatu, I think they probably wanted to keep him a heel a little bit longer, maybe have him have a fight with Roman or something like that. But I think that he's actually getting really over with the crowd as a babyface. Him versus Solo, I think that's going to be a really good match. I hope they do it at WrestleMania. There's a great story there. And it's getting a singles match at WrestleMania in your first year in the company. It's a meteoric rise for Jacob Fatu anyways in the WWE. He's amazing. But I hope they do that. Looking forward to that. Looking forward to seeing where this goes. I guess if you're going to have to cut something for time because you don't know how long The Rock's going to go, it makes sense to cut the Liv Morgan versus Naomi match. I mean, they basically didn't just shorten the match; they made it not happen. It became an angle. Raquel and Liv attacked Naomi and Bianca as they were, and as Naomi was making her entrance. Seeing as they're pushing towards the match on Monday, the tag team championship match, it does make sense. I kind of would have preferred maybe they had shortened some of the other matches and let this one go for a bit, but you know what? I'm okay with it. I enjoyed Tiffany Stratton versus Candice LeRae in the non-title match. Good showing on both sides. Obviously, Tiffany was going to win. Obviously, Nia Jax was going to attack her after, and there was the slightly delayed save from Trish Stratus, leading to Nia piling up both baby faces and doing the Annihilator. And Charlotte Flair, who was on commentary, came in after to pose once again over Tiffany's injured body and pointing at the WrestleMania sign. See, that's where you point at the WrestleMania sign, when you're actually going to WrestleMania. Anyways, yeah, it was kind of predictable. Although I was watching it without the where the match continues during the commercial breaks, I was wondering if Charlotte Flair was going to do a total heel move and say, "I'm not going to be doing commentary for not all of the audience. What do you think I am?" No, but she didn't. It was good. Now, yes, some of this is predictable, but with these two, with Nia and Candice, Tiffany and Trish, and then with Tiffany and Charlotte, they're in holding patterns until Elimination Chamber and then until WrestleMania. So it kind of makes sense. They're just sort of, continuing the build. Nothing too out of the box is going to happen. It's like I'm okay with Jey Uso and Gunther sort of just building at this point. That's when you have these only 2 matches for WrestleMania set. You have a feud set, and you don't want to really progress it much. It's progressed as much as it can. You just got to build. So I'm okay that they're in a holding pattern for both of these things. The Tiffany and Charlotte's gonna build a little bit more after Elimination Chamber right to WrestleMania, and Gunther and Jey are going to continue the build. But I'm fine with this. I enjoyed Drew McIntyre versus Jimmy Uso, or Big Jim. A little surprised Jimmy won. Unsurprisingly, McIntyre attacked him after. I'm having McIntyre lose a match to the other Uso right now. I didn't see that coming. But you know what? Maybe they're not going to go with McIntyre and Damian Priest, as people have speculated for WrestleMania. Maybe McIntyre and Big Jim, Jimmy Uso. I hope the Big Jim sticks. That's a potentially very interesting match because McIntyre is really over as a heel. And obviously Jey Uso's main event, Jey Uso, but you got to give Jimmy something. He's going to be part of WrestleMania. And I think not tagging with someone else. He's obviously not going to be tagging with his brother. Maybe in a singles match against Drew McIntyre, that could be very interesting, and they can definitely build that on SmackDown. So, yeah, you know what? It was a bit surprised, but it kind of if they're actually going with Drew versus Big Jim at Mania, that makes total sense. Guilty pleasure, I got a real kick out of R-Truth announcing his partner from New Orleans, Louisiana Knight, L.A. Knight, get it? And it gives him the po' boy and the necklaces. And it was really cheesy, but you know what? I'm here for that kind of stuff. And I like how LA Knight kind of played along. He looked a little bit annoyed, but he played along. He ate most of the sandwich and then passed it away. Eating a sandwich while walking to the ring is probably not good for your cardio, I guess. Anyways, it was amusing. And I even like the proposed team name between The Miz and Carmelo Hayes. Mellow Don't Miz. It's kind of like head cheese back in the Attitude Era where Al Snow kept trying to get Steve Blackman to wear a cheese hat on his head. It's cheesy stuff like that. I admit it's not really highbrow, but it's fun. It's entertaining. As for the match, it was really just an excuse for Shinsuke Nakamura to cause interference, to cause Knight and R-Truth to lose. Good match. The ending is to build again back to LA Knight, Shinsuke Nakamura. I kind of want to go in different directions with LA Knight. So who knows? Maybe he'll win the championship back at Mania. I'm more interested in the teaming of The Miz and Carmelo Hayes and, of course, R-Truth and stuff. I'm pretty sure we're going to get away from this pairing pretty soon. I kind of hope LA Knight has the championship before Mania. But if he has to take it back from Shinsuke at Mania, maybe they can build that a little bit better. Directly following the Rock segment is not an easy place to be. And we had DIY, and then we had Pretty Deadly in a tag team championship match. And obviously, giving the timing in this particular show and knowing they had a main event after, I didn't think Pretty Deadly were going to win the titles, even though I wanted them to. I kind of like how they had the crystal ball. There's the disco ball going a little bit long. They forgot to turn it off. I don't know. But of course, I should have seen it coming. The Street Profits came in, caused a disqualification, and beat up both teams. Now, maybe we're going Street Profits DIY, or maybe we're going for a multi-team match at Mania. I'm not sure. Again, I'm liking where this division is going. I think Pretty Deadly maybe should have been given more time, maybe on a different night, maybe even on a PLE. But you know what? Who knows? It could work out well for them. And I'm still, I think the Street Profits maybe winning the titles back at Mania, even if it's a multi-team match, might be a good way to go. They're not, I don't think they're heels. I think they're just really like badass Austin-style baby faces. So interesting. And these were my assorted thoughts on the February 21st, 2025 WWE Smackdown from New Orleans, Louisiana, the site of WrestleMania 42. But right now we're focused on the road to WrestleMania 41. And did you agree with my takes? Let me know in the comments. Follow at Silo Voice Wrestling on Facebook and Instagram, at Silo Wrestling on X, and me at Jason C. McLean on X and Instagram. I'll be back with my assorted thoughts on Raw, a prediction video for Elimination Chamber with a guest, and assorted thoughts on SmackDown, review of Elimination Chamber. It's getting very exciting in the WWE right now. I'm still trying to process that Rock promo, as I think a lot of us are. Maybe I'll have a more solid idea by the next video. Anyways, for Silo Voice Studios in Montreal, I'm Jason C. McLean.